Hello, it's Bishop Mark. Today is Luke chapter 17, verses 1 to 4. And at the beginning of chapter 17, what Jesus is doing is just taking lessons from the major parables that we've read. Remember in chapter 15, we read about the prodigal son. Chapter 16, we just read about Lazarus, the beggar, and the rich man. So these are big time parables that have many lessons. So at the beginning of chapter 17, he speaks rather quickly about four lessons, four things. The first one is scandal. The second one is about forgiveness. The third one is about faith. And the fourth one is about service. So these are four little important lessons that he takes. But they do flow from the other parables. Now, let's do scandal first. What is scandal? Scandal is to do something that is so bad that you get other people upset about it and outraged, really angry about it, or you even could cause them to sin. So you lead them down a path to sinfulness. So let's read this first, and we'll talk. He said to his disciples, "Things that cause sin will inevitably occur, but woe to the person through whom they occur. It would be better for him if a millstone were put around his neck and he be thrown into the sea than for him to cause one of these little ones to sin. Be on your guard." Okay. Now, Jesus first recognizes that sin happens. Temptation certainly happens. And we try to live a life where we're not tempted, but that's not going to happen. We are going to be tempted, but that we don't fall into temptation and sin. We try to keep ourselves good. How many times has Jesus said in different ways that what God wants us to be is good? Try to keep yourself good. Now, there's a difference when sinfulness, where we do something wrong or bad, and hopefully we ask forgiveness and we learn from our lesson and we try to do better. It's far different than that, than someone who continues to sin and leads others to sin, takes advantages of others, or teaches others to sin. Then you're adding evil to the world. When we sin, we participate in evil, and hopefully we stop that. When we lead others to sin, we are the source of the evil. It's better to die, says Jesus. He uses an image of a millstone. A millstone is this big, big, heavy rock where they put rocks together and they grind the grain down. So, they didn't have machines at that time to do this kind of work that we have today. So they would grind it in this mill. And so this huge rock, it's better to have that tied around you and thrown into the ocean or the sea and essentially die than to lead others to sin, to participate, to be the source of evil in others. But you know what? That's what happens. People sin and they get used to sinning and they sin again, and then eventually they're leading others to sin. It's not a good thing. So Jesus says, be on your guard against that. Be ready against that. Don't participate in that. That's what really gets you in trouble. Sinning, making mistakes, falling into temptation, well, that's bad. We go to confession. But leading others to sin, that's a whole new level. It's scandalous. And we don't want to be scandalous. Okay, the next one is about faith. It's about forgiveness. And so they're listening to this and they're saying, okay, well, we do have to forgive, but how often do we have to forgive? Now, it's actually a question that comes up in Jewish writing of the day and today, based upon what Moses said, what Abraham said, all the things Joseph, not Saint Joseph, but Joseph in the Old Testament, based upon how they forgave, how do we forgive is the question. Well, Jesus says, if they ask for forgiveness and they're sincere, you forgive them. You're not counting. Okay, this is how he says it. If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him. If he wrongs you 7 times in one day and returns to you 7 times saying, I'm sorry, you should forgive him. So, somebody sins against us, there's no harm. In fact, Jesus tells us to go and to point that sin out so that they know that they wronged us. That's not easy to do. It's not easy at all. But if someone sins against us, we should forgive them. Now imagine if both things happen. When people sinned, we sin and they would forgive us, and we sin and they forgive us, everything would be great. Everything would be in harmony. Sin still happens because it's going to occur, says Jesus. But forgiveness occurs if you allow it to, if you let it. To be forgiving person is not to be taken advantage of. No, Jesus says, go and tell them. But it's to love and allow people to grow. Okay, so the first 2 were about scandal and causing other people to sin, and about forgiveness, forgiving other people when they sin. Next time we'll do the ones on faith and service. Peace to you. Bye now.